Hey Thrivers, welcome back. I want to talk about something today that's deeply personal. It's something I carried with me for years without even realizing it. It is the fear of not having enough, the scarcity mindset. If you grew up in survival mode, whether it was poverty, instability, or just never knowing if your basic needs would be met, you know what I mean. It shapes how you see the world. It shapes how you move through life. And even when life gets better, sometimes that fear still lingers in the back of your mind. I know because I lived it. When I was a little girl, there was a time I lived with a woman who rented out rooms in her townhouse. And I was just a kid surrounded by all these grown men I didn't know. The electricity would get shut off sometimes, and we'd have to use candles to see. My room door that I stayed in, it didn't lock. And every single night I was terrified that someone would come in and take advantage of me. So in those times I went to bed hungry, I went to bed scared. And that kind of survival, when you don't know what's coming next, when you don't feel safe, it does something to you. As a child, I learned that nothing was guaranteed, that things could be taken away in an instant, that there was never enough. And as I grew older, I carried that fear with me. Psychologists call this a scarcity mindset. It's when your brain, after experiencing real lack, gets stuck in survival mode. Research shows that childhood poverty and instability rewires the brain, keeping us in a constant state of alertness, always scanning for the next threat, always preparing for the worst. Dr. Carol Dweck talks about the difference between a scarcity mindset and a growth mindset. When you live in scarcity, you believe there's never enough. You hoard, you panic, you fear losing the little that you have. Now, a growth mindset, on the other hand, understands that resources, opportunities, and security can expand. But shifting from one to the other, that's the hard part. Especially when trauma keeps whispering, be careful, you might lose everything again. Even when I had more, when life looked completely different from my childhood, I still felt that fear. I was constantly worried about money. I felt like if I didn't hold on tight, I would lose everything. And as a mother, that fear only got louder. I needed my girls to feel safe. I needed them to have enough. I was working, providing, doing everything that I could, but deep down, I was still that little girl sitting in the dark with a candle, afraid of what would happen next. And that's when I had to ask myself, am I living in the reality of today, or am I reacting to the fears of my past? If any of this resonates with you, I want you to ask, do you find yourself constantly worried that what you have could disappear? Do you struggle to enjoy what you have because you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop? Do you feel guilty when you spend money or resources on yourself, even when you can afford to? If so, you might be still living from that old story of scarcity. And I want you to know you are not alone, and you don't have to stay there. So how do we start to shift this? How do we rewire our brains to see abundance instead of fear? First, we acknowledge where it comes from. The fear didn't come out of nowhere. It was real at one point in your life. But today you have to ask, is this still true, or am I reacting to something from my past? We have to practice gratitude. I know, just grateful sounds cliche, but this is deeper than that. When you remind your brain, I have enough right now, I am safe right now, it starts to rewire the fear. We have to challenge the scarcity story. When the panic sets in, when the fear of losing everything creeps up, stop and ask, what's the evidence? Am I actually at risk, or is this an old fear resurfacing? Give yourself permission to enjoy life. You don't have to live in survival mode forever. It's okay to experience joy. It's okay to feel safe. It's okay to trust that you are not that little child anymore. You are the adult now, and you are capable of providing for yourself in a way that's possible, that wasn't possible back then. Listen to me, Thrivers. You are not stuck in your past. Yes, it shaped you. Yes, it left scars, but you are here now learning and growing and shifting. We are allowed to have enough. We are allowed to feel safe. And we are allowed to trust our future does not have to look like our past. If this message spoke to you, share it with someone else who might need to hear it. And if you haven't yet subscribed, be a part of this community. We're breaking cycles together, one healing step at a time. Until next time, take care of yourself. You're worth it.